Welcome back to the Media7 Summer Series. I'm joined now by the author of this year's 100 Essential New Zealand Films, Hamish McDouall.
Hello, Russell.
And the man known to many as BFM's Fabian fanboy, film geek, Dominic Corry.
Hi.
Welcome to you both. Guys, what happened this year in cinema? Because the received wisdom was that, in a recession, the creativity in cinema flourishes. People need escapism and they go to the movies. Did that happen?
I think the perception has been that a lot of people have gone to the cinema more, but with some notable exceptions, it hasn't been a spectacular year for cinema creatively, with some very notable exceptions. I mean, you look at some of the Oscar films this year, Slumdog Millionaire, Milk, The Reader. These aren't films people are thinking about at all. They're not going to go on any list. They're not modern classics. It's kind of been a bit flat, a bit disappointing, I think.
What happened?
I just think it's cyclical. It comes and goes. I mean, there's been some great films coming out, but you know, Hollywood learns its lessons so slowly. Something's a hit 3 years ago, and then all the trickle effect comes down 3 years later with the imitations. Who knows? You know, it's Hollywood. They're not known for their creativity.
How about you, Hamish?
One thing that's happened with the recession is it's the return of the undead. They're undead. You can't go to a cinema without seeing zombies, demons, vampires, just everywhere, from every country in the world. You know, there was.
Yeah, what is it with vampires? Why are vampires so large? When did that start?
I mean, they've always been big, but I think the funniest thing about the whole New Moon Twilight phenomenon is that Hollywood spent 20 years reinforcing the idea that when teenage boys get excited about something, they pay money to see it. And now Twilight comes along and they're showing that girls get a lot more excited about these very fanboyistic topics. And this is such a kind of a geek obsession writ large. I mean, every media entity has jumped on this bandwagon. It just makes financial sense to do so.
And yet, if you look at American television, the whole schedule at one point seemed to be basically geek TV, and these series are being cancelled before we even get to see them in New Zealand.
Yeah, all the
things
lost,
like Defying Gravity.
Yeah, all the lost wannabe stuff. I mean, you know, it's like I said, it's the cyclical. We got to make the next version of whatever this was. But what all those successes are lightning in a bottle, and all the lost wannabes, they're at odds with themselves because they're about holding back secrets but delivering answers. And it's kind of a paradoxical form, and it's a very difficult balance to achieve. And Lost has often lost its way in that area, and so all these imitators, they're going to stumble a bit.
And yet, Hamish, sci-fi worked really well, I think, by general agreement in one film, which was District 9, which is just a rollicking film, full of plot. Did you like it? I loved it.
I'll never look at a porn again in the same way. It's just a fantastic film, beautiful. And I think the year's only perfect film, can I say that?
And yet some people hated it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I completely agree with Hamish. It was the absolute film of the year. It just made the possibilities of genre cinema seem so wide open. I mean, it wasn't revolutionary. They just subverted the form ever so slightly, and it seemed like the freshest and most original film in years.
Now, of course, that film had a New Zealand producer. There were a fleet of marquee New Zealand directors had films out this year. Not all of them went too well. The Vintner's Luck especially. Savaged by the critics. Do you think it deserves it?
It got the most toxic review I've ever seen in The Listener. Almost one of those reviews you need a rubber glove to read because the venom was pouring out of the page. And of course the stories about Elizabeth Knox crying for 3 days about it. You're always going to have a huge gap between a novel and cinema, the different art forms. Vintner's Luck is not a perfect film, no doubt, but I don't think it's...
and even The Lovely Bones doesn't seem to have had quite the reception, perhaps, that Peter Jackson would have wanted for his return to art filmmaking.
No, it's interesting how a lot of the criticisms that people like to level at Peter Jackson, that he's obvious and overstated, they all sort of had their claws out ready to apply them to Lovely Bones, and unfortunately, you know, that's come to pass with his apparently, you know, the scenes set in the afterlife are all very overstated, but you know, the final judgment on that film hasn't come through yet, I don't think.
On the other hand, Jane Campion, who's had a lean run in the last few years, actually got some 5-star reviews for Bright Star.
It looked
the Keats movie.
Yeah, it was absolutely sumptuous. I could watch it again and again with the sound turned down. It wasn't a complete success, but yeah, no, she's back, and also you've got Christine Jeffs with Sunshine Cleaning. So
Which also got reasonably good reviews.
Yeah, I liked it. It's great.
Well, we'll move on from looking back to looking forward. 'Tis the season, school's out, and the blockbusters are in the theatres. Jose Barbosa rounds up this year's Christmas offerings.
It's Christmas again, the one time of year when it's actually considered okay to be targeted by aggressive marketing.
Update, upgrade, upsize!
Unlike the rest of the year, we actually want to buy crap for people we don't like. And sometimes it is kind of nice to be wanted. And no one needs us more than the film industry. It's a bit like the never-ending story in which Hollywood tries to fight off the nothing, the physical manifestation of the growing reluctance to participate in user-pays capitalism. It's a state of affairs fueled by digital piracy, represented here in the never-ending story by Gamork, a green-eyed monster that makes studio executives fill their pants with horror. These are the films designed to suck in as much of our cash as possible, and they're doing that with the time-honoured strategy of good old Hollywood spectacle. But in 2012, they may have outdone themselves. Through a frankly ridiculous set of circumstances, the Earth's core starts to heat up, causing intense destruction. The film takes an almost fetishistic glee in laying waste to civilization. Arguably, that's not such a bad thing. If global catastrophe is what it takes to remove Nickelback from existence, then so be it. It's directed by Roland Emmerich, who has done this sort of thing before in The Day After Tomorrow. He's obviously repeating himself, but at least he's only tarnishing his own stuff.
A tornado! Yes, a twister in
This is just massive.
The same can't be said of Guy Ritchie's forthcoming take on Sherlock Holmes. This is Conan Doyle's classic gentleman detective as action hero. It's far removed from other adaptations, including the Granada-produced series of the 1980s, starring the late Jeremy Brett, in what many consider the best portrayal of the great detective.
There was port in each glass, but there was only crusting in one glass.
Here, however, we've got borderline risque jokes about Robert Downey Jr.'s tackle.
Beneath this pillow lies the key to my release.
Oh look, it will in all likelihood be an enjoyable film. Downey is like some sort of charisma supernova spewing out radiation in the form of money, and he seems to have a real chemistry with Jude Law. But does Sherlock Holmes really jump out of windows and know kung fu? And if it's supposed to be a darker, more sophisticated version, as the film's marketing states, will they include the main character's cocaine use? The use of said drug could, on first inspection, be said to have had some influence on Avatar's freaky tie-dye world of Pandora. This is James Cameron's much-anticipated return to the world of big-budget science fiction epic. The film revolves around future space marine Jake Sully, whose mind gets put into an alien body so he can spy on the Na'vi. They're the blue beam poles you're seeing now.
Ulrich is rolling and there's no stopping him.
Like any Cameron film, there's plenty of toys on screen, and eventually a massive showdown between the good and bad guys. It's an event movie, the sort of film you have to go and see, even if you'd rather not, which from the industry's position is the whole point. It's the film the studios have the most stake in. It was shot using 3D technology designed specifically for the movie. Let's hope the wonder of 3D will be like catnip to moviegoers, drawing them back to the theatres and away from the internet and copyright infringement.
Good.
And that's not all. There's also Oscar bait film Amelia.
I'm going to fly around the world.
It can be done.
The already released Where the Wild Things Are, which is a weird cross between those It's How We're Drinking ads and an issue of Frankie magazine. And Peter Jackson's latest, The Lovely Bones, which is about the murder of a 14-year-old girl. So that'll sell really well. And that's just the tip of the iceberg as seen from space. There's hundreds of films clawing at our door. The question is, do we actually want to watch any of them?
What are the odds?
Jose Barbosa there. Well, I get the feeling Jose has a thing against the Sherlock Holmes movie. Have they gone too far with that character, do you think? Is it going to work for mass audiences?
It seems like such a mild reinvention of the character. You know, Robert Downey Jr. having Guy Ritchie directing it, having some nice slow-mo scenes in it. I don't know anyone is hugely excited to see that film. People probably will see it, but it's not inspiring, you know, fandom.
On the other hand, the other big would-be blockbuster, 2012, I get the impression, Hamish, that people have been going to see that for a laugh.
Well, yeah, there's probably a lot of unintentional comedy in it. I think just the title, it's intimidating. You think, oh, 3 years left? No one's got to go and watch, no turkey votes for Christmas. So I
enjoyed it. I think it says something about the blandness of the blockbusters this year, that we're actually finding nice things to say, maybe not Jose, nice things to say about 2012, just because it was actually moderately entertaining, you know?
And of course, the big one there is Avatar. We've been waiting so many years. You know, this is a legend in the industry. Finally, it's actually going to be out this month.
Isn't it ironic, in a recession, the most expensive movie ever made, and it's the 5th time that James Cameron's made the most expensive movie ever made, and 4 of them, 3 of the previous ones happened in the last recession.
So did you see the preview footage of Avatar in 3D?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen the 3D.
The Avatar Day stuff, yeah, I went to that. I mean, the 3D stuff is impressive, and people are excited to see this film, but 3D, it just reeks of panic on the studio's part. They want a gimmick to get people into the cinemas. They're so worried about people not going to the films anymore that saying, well, this is why they come to cinemas. I don't know anyone who's actually that excited about the 3D. I think the filmmakers themselves and the studios are excited about it, but the general public, I mean, no one ever saw a film and thought, oh, that would have been better in 3D. You know, the 3D.
See, I have to disagree there, because I saw that 15-minute Avatar footage, and I thought I was disarmed by the beauty of it.
It was immersive.
It was some of the most beautiful things I've ever seen on a screen.
Yeah, it was immersive, but I'm mainly excited just to see that film for its story and for its visuals, but not for. I don't like having the focus determined for me in terms of stereoscopic viewing. I'm sure it will be technically impressive, but whenever you herald something as the future of cinema, all the general public is going to do is say, no, it's not. You know, that kind of thing has to happen organically. It's great that the technology is being pushed forward, but you can't determine the general public's excitement about something just by saying it's the future of cinema.
Do you agree, Hamish? Because the big guys have been talking it up, Cameron and Jackson, you know, at Comic-Con this year.
I'm really interested to see it. I'm interested to see it, but I'm going to have problems because I wear glasses. So I mean, what do? You put the little things.
I believe you put them over them.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I'm a bit sceptical. It does smack of the 1950s when 3D first came around and the screen got wider and wider and wider. But yeah, I'll be a interested observer.
Well, because the big production story in New Zealand in 2010 is going to be The Hobbit, kicking off mid-2010. How do you think the industry's feeling about that? Are people excited about getting back into another, Rings epic?
Well, there are a few things going around the country, but I think The Hobbit's obviously going to attract people, and the same spirit in Willywood will occur that King Kong and the Rings cycle.
What did you make of the choice of Guillermo del Toro as to helmet?
Yeah, really good.
Was he the obvious guy?
Yeah, I think so. Not Pandora's Box. What was it called?
Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth was great. So
I think it's. I mean, he's a great director to make it, but it's going to be the next 4 years of his life or something. He could have made 4 awesome original films in that time. You know, they could have gotten anyone to make The Hobbit. I mean, again, though, I support the decision.
I get the feeling you've given back your geek card.
No. Not at all. I'm very excited to see. I mean, I love Guillermo del Toro. I love Pan's Labyrinth. It's great that there's this mentor role that Peter Jackson is playing to him. It's similar to the way maybe he played to the guy who made District 9, Neil Blomkamp. I think that's the way to get original creativity coming through, is to have someone with the power to shield a director from the studio bollocks and allow them to just do whatever they want. Hopefully that's going to be the case with The Hobbit. I hope that Del Toro's it up and makes it maybe a bit more slimy than the original trilogy.
So what else to look forward to for 2010, both from Hollywood and at home?
Well, I'm interested to see Under the Mountain coming up. I'll always be a little bit suspicious of it because I was madly in love with Rachel in the original TV series. So I'll have to. I was 10 years old at that stage, and I had a future planned with her. I'm also looking forward to Predicament coming out, the Ronald Hugh Morrison film.
So these are both New Zealand stories,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is a nice thing.
Yeah. And I hear there's something called The Tracker, which is being filmed with Tim Morrison, which sounds like a moderately big budget. It's a UK, New Zealand production as well. So the other ones I'm looking forward to, definitely.
So it actually looks like a reasonably strong year for film at home, doesn't it?
Yeah, for all my hesitancy about the 3D, it's all about Avatar for me at this point. I've been waiting for that film since the mid-90s when the script leaked out. It's JC, it's James Cameron, he's our god. You know, I do have my geek card still.
I think he's just grabbed his geek code back, hasn't he?
You can always just refuse to go see it in 3D as a manner of protest.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks very much, guys. That is all for this show. Thanks to Hamish McDouall and Dominic Corry, and to Hazel Phillips and Brent Smart. We'll be back with another Media7 show at the same time next week. Until then, goodbye.